G'day, Troy Dane from WP Elevation, and welcome to episode 66 of the WP Elevation podcast. I don't know why I just sang that. 66. I feel like I'm calling out bingo numbers. This week's feature guest is Justin Ferryman. Not Ferryman, not Ferryman, Ferryman. Justin Ferryman. Ferriman, not Ferryman. We had this conversation off camera. From LearnDash. LearnDash is a learning management system plugin for WordPress. We love it. We use it here at WP Elevation to run some of our courses. If you are at all interested in how to publish a course online and maybe sell that course online and generate some recurring mullah into your business, or if you want to build learning management course solutions for your clients and teach them how to set up recurring revenue models in their business, then this episode is for you. LearnDash is undoubtedly the number one learning management system for WordPress. It launched in January 2013 after doing 10 months of market research before launching. Justin is giving away a full package of the LearnDash system in this episode, which is valued at $159. So stick around for details on how you can enter that. This is a truly great episode if you are at all interested in publishing and selling courses online, or even just giving them away for free. And there is a lot to be said about using courses to educate your marketplace and position you as the go-to person. It's a great way to generate leads in your business, and it's something that you should be teaching your clients how to do as well. And LearnDash gives you a great development toolkit that you can just use to develop online course solutions for your clients. So it's a great episode. There are prizes. It's episode 66. It's Justin Ferryman from LearnDash. Stay with us. Let's elevate.
This is the WP Elevation podcast, helping WordPress consultants elevate.
This episode of the WP Elevation podcast, of course, is brought to you by Video User Manuals, the plugin that teaches your clients how to use WordPress so you don't have to. You can go down the beach and go surfing, or go kiteboarding, or hiking, or play chess, which is what Justin Ferryman does from LearnDash when he's not working. You can go to the pub and have a chicken parmesan or a pint of beer if you like. Well, you can do whatever you like when you're not teaching your clients how to use WordPress, because our plugin will do that for you. That's right, our plugin will teach your clients how to use WordPress, SEO by Yoast, WooCommerce, and Google Analytics. Check it out for $1 for your first month. Take it for a spin, get it up and running, and see how it'll change your life. You can check it out at wpelevation.com/VUM, which stands for Video User Manuals. Not the most creative name in the world, but by gee, it does what it says on the tin. All right, elevation tip of the week this week is teach something online. And more importantly, if you are working with clients, encourage your clients to teach what they know online as a way of positioning themselves as the go-to person in their industry, in their niche. And of course, you can use LearnDash to deliver an online course learning management system solution for your clients very quickly and very inexpensively. And of course, you can add a whole bunch of strategy consulting to that project and make it profitable for yourself and a great outcome for your clients if you're using LearnDash, which is what we're all about here at WP Elevation. Adding value to your clients and then optimizing your processes internally so that you can add that value and run your business at a profit. This week's guest, Justin Ferryman, spent 10 months doing what he calls very unsexy market research to make sure that they had something that people wanted before they launched it. And then he used his experience selling e-learning solutions to Fortune 500 companies and his passion for WordPress to build the first learning management system on WordPress, LearnDash. We love it here at WP Elevation. We use it to deliver some of our courses, and Justin featured our website, and still does feature our website on his website, and is the largest driver of traffic and customers and members for WP Elevation. So, hey, Justin, thank you very much for that. I think I did thank him in the interview as well. So without further ado, he's also giving away a full package of LearnDash valued at $159, so stick around for details on how you can enter that competition a little bit later on. But without further ado, let's go and meet Justin Ferryman. G'day, Troy Dean here from WP Elevation, and I'm very thrilled to have with me all the way from Ann Arbor, Michigan, Justin Ferryman from LearnDash. Hey man, how you doing?
Good, Troy. How are you? First, thanks for having me here.
Oh, thank you for joining us, man. This is, as I was saying before off camera, this is like the 18th time that you and I have tried to do this interview. And for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened. But we're finally here, and I'm very excited because you are from LearnDash. You are the man behind LearnDash. And I got to say, LearnDash is the biggest driver of traffic and customers for WP Elevation. So, dude, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for using us as your LMS.
It's amazing. I kind of noticed what was happening in the Google Analytics. I'm like, why the hell are we getting all these referrals from LearnDash? And then, of course, I went and checked out the website, and it says here, check out who else is using LearnDash, and you've got the WP Elevation site there. And so people are just clicking through and coming through and checking out what we're doing. And it's been fantastic for us. And then, of course, we met at WordCamp in Chicago and kind of briefly crossed each other in the corridor and said g'day, and didn't really have a good chance to catch up. So I'm thrilled that we've finally got you here. Before we get into all the questions, Justin is very kindly offered to sponsor a pro license of the LearnDash Learning Management System, the full package, which is LearnDash and the Pro Panel. It's valued at $159. Stick around for details on how you can enter that competition a little bit later on. Okay, before we start talking about all things WordPress, when you were a kid, Justin, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Many things. When I was real little, I think I was really interested in becoming a soccer player, but at the time there was no professional league in the U.S., so that kind of dashed those dreams pretty quickly. As I got older, I really thought I wanted to be a teacher, an educator of some sort, but I also had a liking for technology. So oddly enough, or maybe not so surprising, I ended up in the e-learning space, doing corporate consulting and e-learning, and so those interests as a child very much drove, I think, what I eventually became. So,
e-learning's massive, isn't it? It's a huge market, isn't it?
It's massive, and it's only growing. So it's an exciting time for sure if you're in this industry.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. When did you discover the internet and think, okay, there's more to this than meets the eye. I think we can actually build a commercial, venture out of this?
Well, my first exposure to the internet was when I was a child. I remember my uncle and aunt had AOL, and we didn't have it yet. So logging in and going to these things called chat rooms, right? The You Got Mail, that was my first exposure. Then, naturally just growing with it, more for entertainment purposes. But it wasn't until, I think, in college where I thought maybe there was an opportunity there for maybe earning some income, or maybe the potential of it was beyond entertainment and just reading about my favorite sports teams.
When did you, do you remember the first time you saw the WordPress dashboard?
I do. 2006 was, 2006. I was in university and undergrad at the time, and I had started, or I heard about blogs. They were kind of just really taking off, even though they had been around beforehand. And my first exposure was at WordPress.com. And not too long after that, I began playing around with hosting my own WordPress sites.
And what were you using WordPress for back in those days? Were you just like blogging your own kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, like every university student, they think that what they have to say is important. So I decided to start a blog.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, right? Trying to change the world. And started with a blog, and then, of course, as I got more familiar with how to play with a WordPress site, and the family found out, then I was setting up small sites for my aunt, who's a photographer, and my mom, who tutors people. So that was kind of the first foray into the WordPress world, and really getting familiar with the dashboard, how everything's configured and set up. And
so, are you a developer? Like, do you call yourself a developer?
No, I don't. I would call myself an extremely advanced user. I can dabble in CSS and some PHP, but that's not. I wouldn't define myself as a developer.
Yeah, well, that's good to know, man. It's good to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. How do you describe what you do in one sentence when you meet people for the first time and they say, "Hey, Justin, what do you do? What's your elevator pitch, so to speak?"
Wow, I think a lot of times I may depend on who I'm speaking to, but I think at the highest level, it's if somebody is familiar with WordPress, we'll make it really easy to create an online course and sell it even on your WordPress site. And then from there, the conversation goes out. But and for anybody that's not familiar with WordPress, it's, hey, have you ever heard of e-learning? And then starting from there. Most people, it's surprising, well, maybe not surprising, but a lot of people have taken an online course at some point. So they generally can catch on pretty quick when we start talking about it.
It's funny how it's funny how a lot of people have taken an online course without even realizing that there's kind of all this stuff going on in the back end to move them through and, make it a linear kind of trajectory through the modules and through the quizzes. They don't realize that there's all this stuff going on the back end. We're going to talk more about how LearnDash solves those problems a little bit later in the interview. What do you actually spend most of your time doing day to day? Because LearnDash has kind of grown pretty quickly. Are you kind of still spending time in WordPress, or are you sort of managing people, processes, biz dev?
All of the above. I'm the CEO and the janitor all at once. So it is a little of everything, which is exciting, and I like that about the business. I could be answering support requests directly from people that maybe are having an issue or just have a question on how to set something up. So I spend a lot of time doing that, and I enjoy doing that because I get a lot of insight about the use cases, about what's working, what's not, what could be better. So that's a good part of my day. A lot of it is planning out the next business direction, what we want to do, how we want to drive the industry, things like that. Networking, reaching out to people in WordPress, in the WordPress world, in the e-learning world as well, and forming connections in that way. So it's a lot going on. I'm also doing product testing and feature testing and things of that nature.
Wow, never a dull moment, hey?
No, not really.
What's the one thing that keeps you awake at night about LearnDash?
I have a lot of ideas going through my head. I'm an idea guy. So I wake up a lot to jot them down, and I feel like just get them on paper and then address them. And, a lot of them don't see the light of day, but there's some that do. And when they do, I think they're very well received. So it's, I can never shut off. I got to get better at doing that. Maybe just dialing down a little bit rather than shutting off. But
yeah. So you find it,
you know how it is.
Yeah, totally. You find it hard to switch off and to not think about work? Like even when you're not at work, if you're off hiking or doing whatever you're doing, you're still kind of mulling things over in your head?
Yeah, for the most part. I have my outlets, right, like everybody does. I think one way that I can kind of just like disengage is that I've taken a liking to playing chess. So I'll play chess quite a bit, and that will force you to think about something else. But, and then, it's not all the time, right? I'm not a machine, so I can disconnect when I'm with friends or hanging out. But yeah, it's, even with my friends, it's, they're also in the WordPress industry. So sometimes it just kind of mixes. Yeah.
I was talking to Jin here, who works with us in the office, and we were talking recently about, I've kind of started juggling as a way, just in the office, if I just want to tune out from, whatever's going on, I'll just juggle. And when you're juggling, you're not thinking about anything except keeping the balls up in the air. And ping pong's another great one. Table tennis, ping pong is great to just disengage with whatever's going on. Uses a completely different part of the brain to keep that ball on the table. So I imagine chess is a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, you can't really think about something else or you get wiped off the board. It's I'm a competitive person too, so I really like the competition of it all.
Awesome. What are your hobbies? What do you do when you're not working? How do you kind of chill out? How do you keep your head together?
Chess is one. Playing soccer. In some men's leagues, that's a big part of, kind of an outlet, the physical outlet. Hanging out with some friends. We have some great restaurants here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So if any of your viewers happen to be by or around town, it's certainly worth the trip.
Cool. I haven't been to Michigan yet. As you know, I got to Chicago, but Michigan is definitely on the list of places I want to get to. So hopefully I'll get there one day. Hey,
hopefully.
If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about LearnDash right now, what would it be?
Oh, I would say, if I could wave a magic wand, I would want more time in the day, right? Because we have all these projects that are happening simultaneously, and they require constant maintenance and oversight, and knowing the different statuses and doing testing, and obviously before we release anything. So more manpower sometimes to be able to move faster, and that will come. I'm pretty confident of that.
It's funny. I just interviewed Justin Sternberg from Web Dev Studios, who was one of the guys that worked on AppPresser. He's working on CMB2, which is a custom MetaBox plugin. He said the same thing. I said, what would the one thing that you could fix? And he said more time, because he's got so many ideas and not enough time to implement. The question I asked him, which I'll ask you now, is how do you know which ideas to take off the shelf and start working on, and how do you know when to just leave something on the shelf?
It's a good question. I think in our case, some of what we do is driven by the user base. So if there's an idea, maybe it sparks, somebody makes a suggestion, sparks an idea, and we'll go with it. Sometimes we take ideas. Troy, I believe you submitted one time that we ended up adopting and putting into our software. So that makes it easy. But then other times it's just about taking that chance. I remember, just to give a quick example, I think it was last year sometime, the whole WordPress LMS industry is really just kind of starting to take foothold, and people were just focused on course delivery and quizzes. And I remember thinking, well, it'd be great if we get some badges or some certificates in here, because I've seen that quite often actually in e-learning, and then also in learning management systems that I've helped set up. So went through the motion. Nobody was really asking for it. Went through the motions and thought it was going to be a great idea, and sure enough, it took off. I think now everybody has some kind of capability like that. So sometimes it's gut feeling, and sometimes it works out, and other times it doesn't.
So you don't base all, because it's. I guess the interesting conversation is how much of the decisions you make are data driven, and how much. I remember talking to Adi about from WooThemes about this a long time ago, like probably 2.5 years ago, and he said you can get overwhelmed with the data, and sometimes you just have to trust your gut and go with what feels right. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, working in this industry every day, you have your finger on the pulse. So, it's good to get the data and the user feedback, but when people give feedback, they have a very unique situation. Or maybe they have a feature that they really would like to use, and they think it might apply to everybody. And the tough thing is to be able to discern, okay, will it or will it not? And if so, if not, help give them some options on how they could maybe get that done. But yeah, I think so far we've made more good choices than not. So I think that's been helpful in kind of catapulting LearnDash to where it is today.
One of the things, BadgeOS integrates well with LearnDash, and I was just talking to Justin from WebDev about BadgeOS, and we use LearnDash to deliver courses that people can take before, as like a natural progression before they join WP Elevation, if they just kind of want to get their feet wet. And we use BadgeOS to
it's a good plugin.
Yeah, give them some badges, and we use the certificates in LearnDash. So this has been amazing, because I kind of thought when I first saw the certificates, I thought, oh, this is cute. That was my initial thing, was this is a cute idea, right? So I designed a certificate in Photoshop. I got like a template from Graphic River or something, and put our logo, and I thought this would be cute. And my wife was kind of laughing at me, going, "Oh, that's really cute. You're building certificates for your students, Anyway, you wouldn't believe the amount of emails we get from people going, "Oh man, I had trouble printing my certificate. Can you please send me my certificate? Because I want to print it out and frame it and put it on the wall." I'm like, really?
Yeah,
They love the reward, the gratification.
We called that a lot of times. Before doing LearnDash, I'd be doing a lot of huge e-learning implementations at Fortune 500 companies, right? And we'd always talk about the carrot. What's the carrot? For what's the motivating? What's in it for them? You have to answer that question. And little things like certificates that they could print off and put in their cubicle, it was huge. So it's that same phenomenon that you're experiencing with WP Elevation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Let's dig a little bit deeper into LearnDash.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about your background. Why did you, because I know a little bit about your background, but our listeners don't. Why did you start to build LearnDash?
Okay. Well, prior to LearnDash and working exclusively in WordPress, where WordPress at one point was more of a hobby, I was implementing these e-learning programs, standing up LMSs at very big companies in the U.S. government. So it was my world. It was something I had a passion for. And at one point, I forget the trigger, right? But somebody had asked about the possibility of, learning programs or managing a learning program on WordPress. So naturally, like anybody does, they go to the plugin repository and they search for it. And I found nothing. And the more I thought about it, and the features that I know existed and still exist in large enterprise learning management systems, the more I thought about it, I was thinking, WordPress is so good for this because it's such a scalable solution and easy to modify without feature bloat unless you need the feature. So that's kind of how the idea started. And in 2012, I just started a blog. At the time, it was wplms.org, and just started blogging about the concept, see if there'd be any interest there. I think it was the first time WordPress LMS had even been uttered, right? So it's kind of a foreign thing. It's about educating, all right, this is a learning management system on WordPress. This is what it could look like. And it started to take off. People are really interested in it and signing up to learn more. And so in 2012, we spent a lot of time saying, okay, this is something that should happen and needs to happen, and drove a lot of development during 2012. And then in January of the following year is when we released our beta version. I guess, yeah, it was a beta version for lack of a better word. And we haven't looked back since.
And how did you know, how did you get the team together, and how did you scope it out and go, okay, well, did you start with a minimum viable product, or how did you know what you were building?
Yeah, I knew the core features just from my experience and what needed to be in there. And then we started, and when I say we, my wife works in the business full time with me, and then we also have a team of developers and some contractors and such. Started developing, what would this look like? How could it be structured? I started interviewing some people to kind of pull into the team and, all right, will you be able to develop this? What do you think about, this? Could this be done? Okay, it can't. Let's talk about another feature. And I knew that we couldn't do everything all at once, right? Nor did we really have to in the beginning, because just the nature of WordPress. So if you needed something, you could easily install it as well. So that was nice. And then just got something out there into the hands of people, and then we started getting the feedback and people saying, hey, this would be great, that would be great, and we started evolving from there. And so, LearnDash, I say it quite often on our blog whenever we do announcements and such, but it's really been a product of the people using it. We don't just give lip service to people giving their ideas. We've been incorporating those ideas, and so it's evolved to, essentially a product of the people across a wide range of industries, surprisingly.
And you're right when you say the LMS space has really kind of grown up in WordPress over the last even 12 months. I mean,
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. How do you? I mean, there are some obvious ones. Sensei from Woo Themes. There are some others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But how do you kind of? I mean, does competition make you nervous, or does it keep you on your toes and make you produce a better product?
I might have mentioned it earlier. I love competition. I think it's, I love it. It makes you innovative. It forces you to be innovative, right? It's when you have competition, right? It's not. You obviously want to create a better product and you want to do better than them, but they also drive you to create something that people are going to not only need but talk about. So it's. Competition is fine. It wouldn't be a viable industry if there was no competition, right? So, it's nothing that we've been afraid of.
That's a great approach. I mean, I remember speaking to Vlad from Managed WP on one of the first episodes of a podcast I tried before WP Elevation, a podcast that ultimately failed because I didn't know what I was doing and didn't have my processes down. But Vlad said, if there's no one else doing what you're doing, he gets nervous when there's no one else doing what he's doing, because he's, hang on a second, why is no one else doing this? That might mean it's a really bad idea.
Yeah, it's true. Another good test is if I heard this from someone else, but if you Google something, right, and there's no paid ads, on site, well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, when you Google WordPress LMS, there's a few paid ads, but you guys are #1 in the organic search, which is. That's pretty fly, man. That's good. Yeah,
well, it is. I mean, that is a good thing, right? We work hard for that, and it's, I will say, because when it comes to search engine stuff, I'm not a search engine guru. I don't know that kind of thing, but I do know you can't take shortcuts. You can't try to cheat it by, purchasing bad links or Twitter followers or anything like that. I mean, you take shortcuts, it'll all catch up to you. So we've never done anything shady the whole time, and it pays off.
Yeah. What's been the biggest challenge, you think, with launching a product to the public?
And initially, when you launch a product, I guess any product, right, you want it to work for everybody. And it's tough sometimes when somebody comes at you and says, well, this isn't working. No, I needed to do, not X, Y, or Z. but something else. And one of the hardest things, especially when you're new, is saying, no, it doesn't do that, nor are we going to make it do that. And we've learned to say that, but then also you give options and such, and refer them to another location if that's not the case. And that's been kind of funny because it can sometimes backfire. For example, people will write us a lot, and from the WordPress space, from the e-learning space, which is great because that's where I come from. And I'll talk to them and say, we're looking at, for example, we had UPS looking at using LearnDash for their LMS, and just knowing where we were at the time and where what they wanted to do or what the individual was describing, I said, no, you shouldn't use this. Here's another alternative. And sure enough, they purchased, right? They're like, oh, well, thank you for being honest. We're going to give it a shot anyway. It's like, okay.
But just be clear, it doesn't do what you want it to do.
Yeah. And then, I was like, okay, that's not really, we just set aside those funds and that's going to be the refund money and just put it right there.
How do you handle support? I know you're really active in the forums, and your forums are great actually. But apart from the forums, how do you handle not only the technical side of how do you handle the forums, but the mental stress side of it? How do you actually handle support?
I think maybe my background in a few areas has helped with the support aspect. Essentially, removing the emotional piece. I mean, you have to connect on an emotional level. But for example, when you're consulting for companies, no matter what industry, that company doesn't want you there. You're the consultant. Oh, what they have to say, this is broken, that's broken. They don't know what they're talking about. So, when it comes to dealing with maybe personalities that are a little bit stronger, I've had experience in that area, so that's I'm fortunate to have that. Another one of which I used to be a soccer referee, and if you hear what people say to referees in the forums, it's nothing. So it makes it quite easy.
Is that right?
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
This is completely off topic, but do you ever get nervous about building a product based on someone else's technology? So do you ever get nervous? You ever get nervous that you kind of the WordPress foundation? I mean, what if something seismic happens to WordPress? Do you then just pick up LearnDash and put it onto the next thing that comes along?
That's funny you say that. It's never really crossed my mind. I think probably because all signs indicate that WordPress is just becoming bigger and better and greater. So if that weren't the case, then maybe I'd start thinking, okay, what's plan B or C? But that's how a lot of good products come. Articulate Storyline, which is an e-learning development program, they started as an add-on for Microsoft PowerPoint, and they became absolutely huge. So, I think it's a viable business model.
Cool. I put a link to that in the show notes. And there are a bunch of hosted kind of, set up your course. I mean, new Rainmaker platform that the guys at Copyblogger have put out. Kajabi, I think, have just released Kajabi Next, which is a way you can kind of get your course up and sell it online. How do you feel about the hosted version of this kind of thing? Does that competition kind of keep you on your toes again, or?
In some ways, yeah. I think the person or the organization that's going to choose one of those applications is different than the one that will choose LearnDash. So there is overlap for sure in the market, but there's also, I think there's less overlap than maybe people think.
There is. I agree with you actually, because it's funny. I was consulting recently with a non-profit here in Melbourne who are looking for something like LearnDash, and they're savvy enough and don't have enough budget that they need to go and try and figure this out themselves. So they'll probably end up using a new Rainmaker or a Kajabi or something like that because they don't have the budget to engage a consultant to actually build them a solution. Whereas what I see in our forums is a lot of people are getting asked for by clients. So a lot of WordPress consultants being asked by clients, hey, we need to set up a solution online where we can start selling education to our customers. And so a lot of posts in the forums going, where can I quickly learn how to use LearnDash, right? Because that seems to be like the go-to solution. So I kind of see this ecosystem of, and this happens with, it's happened with WooCommerce, it's happened with WordPress itself, this kind of ecosystem of consultants growing up to use LearnDash to deliver solutions and then teach the clients how to use LearnDash. Do you find that a large percentage of your customers, LearnDash customers, are actually building solutions for clients?
There's definitely a percentage, right, of people that do that. It could be a WordPress development firm who have received a client that have said, hey, we need a learning site, and we work with developers, and that's what they do. And there's also, and this has been fascinating and interesting, there's also been firms that have been coming out and saying, hey, we want to offer LearnDash, just LearnDash consulting. We want to sell people on the idea of LearnDash as our LMS. And these are people from the traditional e-learning space, right? Which I am just thrilled about because, as I said, e-learning being the world I came from and WordPress, a passion of mine, now they're mixing. And, I can speak that language with them and what they're looking and what their clients look like and what their clients are kind of asking for from more maybe a traditional e-learning space, and it's been cool. They've been getting some good work in doing that because I think LearnDash and WordPress, very much WordPress, are conducive to online training programs in the traditional sense, as well as, like you said, people that want to say, "Hey, I want to create a course and sell it, and I don't want to give a cut to Udemy." And for those that don't know, Udemy.com is a site where you can create a course and sell it, and they take a percentage of the sale. Yeah.
Any plans for a hosted software as a service solution of LearnDash?
It's on the dry erase board, but it's not maybe as simple as just saying, oh, here's a hosted solution.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I think
there's a few moving parts to that beast, isn't there?
Yeah, and it wouldn't be like, oh, you can get LearnDash, or you can pay us monthly for the same thing. It would have to be something different. And that's when we first launched, I wasn't exactly sure the direction. I mean, I knew we wanted to do the plugin, right? But I was like, hey, maybe people would want, and we tried to do some kind of managed way of offering the solution, and it really wasn't. It was more of a time suck than anything, and so we just kind of pulled it. But it's been interesting. Like I said, the customers kind of give you feedback over time, and there's some avenues that I think we're excited for 2015. It's going to be a huge year. That kind of stuff feeds these new ideas, and we're not opposed to hosted avenues either.
Because you guys have only been around, like you launched in was it late 2012? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, January 2013.
Right.
So is when we said kind of opened the doors. We did some closed releases and such beforehand, but that was like when it first was like you can available to everybody.
And there's no free version of LearnDash, right? LearnDash is just a premium plugin, yeah?
Yeah.
Was that a deliberate kind of business model choice to not go down the freemium route?
Yeah, I just didn't want to, I didn't know much about the freemium. I read about it and stuff. I know there's a whole kind of science to it, and it's easier, right? Just to say, I have this product. Do you want to buy it or not?
Yeah.
Path of least resistance sometimes.
Yeah. I know Carl Hancock from Gravity Forms has been a big, he's spoken a lot about this. Like, I can't repeat it on this podcast, but he basically says, screw freemium. Like freemium, no, he says freemium sucks. That's what he says. Because one of the things about freemium is you end up, even you're not obliged to offer support for a free product, but you kind of feel like someone's downloaded your product for free. It's not doing exactly what they want. You kind of do feel an onus to support them. And that can be a huge suck on your resources.
Yeah, and you probably figure that if they need support, it's almost like a pre-sales thing, right? But it's not a guarantee. They're using your product and you want them to maybe buy, so you support them, but they may not, and like you said, you're not getting compensated for that time.
What are some of the most interesting websites that you've seen using LearnDash?
Ooh, it's been exciting. So I think, well, your site, of course, right? But there's a University of Portland just put in LearnDash, right? I forget the gentleman's name, but he actually did a nice little kind of audio boom podcasty thing about what he did, and he used Badge OS, and they set it up for their virtual learning center, and obviously we're thrilled that they had chose us. So it's really exciting to see it used in higher education areas, not just higher education, but sometimes in For example, there's been school districts who have adopted it to let teachers create classroom, kind of classroom LMSs for blended learning approaches with their students. But at the other side, there are entrepreneurs that are using it. And one individual had contacted us, and I'm not going to say her name or business just to keep her anonymous, but she had contacted us and was thanking us, which is really nice when people do that. And because she had she was in a transition. She was trying to find a way to get out of what she was doing. Now, LearnDash wasn't the reason why she got out. She's very intelligent and created courses that people wanted to purchase. But she made the transition and is out on her own and, doing that as her primary income. So that's exciting. And then, it's funny. We get some of the strangest, sometimes use cases, and I wish I would have had one prepared, but
I just kicked open a bunch of tabs here, which you may have heard that video playing. I just kicked open a bunch of tabs here from your LearnDash examples page, right? So I'm just going to give some examples of some of the people. Check this out.
I probably could have done the same instead of sitting there trying to think off the top of my head.
That's okay. So, excuse me. So, Life Marketing, LYFE Marketing, social media marketing, online training. Their headline says, "Become an exceptional social media marketer."
I saw that. It's I've heard that somewhere. Where have I heard that?
Become an exceptional WordPress consultant.
Some genius marketer, probably.
That's bizarre. That's the first time I've seen that. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Life Marketing, become an exceptional social media marketer. Thank you very much. Watch the video. Look at that. They've got a blurred picture in the background. That's awesome. Yeah. I'll take that as flattery. Rheumatology, the Johns Hopkins Medicine, rheumatology.
Oh, yeah. So that's exciting because they're the #1 rheumatology program in the nation, in the United States. So they're using LearnDash, which is, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. ESL Tutor, so English as a second language.
Yeah, we've gotten a few language people. There are people that are offering language courses, I should say, that are using LearnDash, so that's cool too.
Health at health.com. So at health.com, mental health touches everyone. This is not exactly sure what they do here, but they're selling courses in for CE courses for psychologists, mental health counselors, marriage and family therapists, social workers.
Yep, and that's kind of goes along with, Troy, what I said before, the carrot, right? Why do people want to take training? And we find that a lot of continuing education programs adopt LearnDash just because it's so conducive with what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're offering continuing education units that a lot of professions need, to meet X number of units in order to stay certified. That's an example of one. I know there's some HIPAA compliance examples on that site as well. So there's a few that fall into that category.
A few others here, SOME, Academy of Social Media, SOME Academy, teaching, social media. Transcription, this one's interesting, Transcription Express. So these guys teach transcribers.
Yeah, I think that's one part of their business, but they also, I think they do transcription services, and then anytime they onboard people, they say, go through this course, and it's made in LearnDash, so that's pretty cool.
Fascinating. So you must get a really good insight into the types of businesses that are using WordPress as well, because obviously if they're using LearnDash, it's on WordPress, right? Yeah.
There's a lot of businesses using WordPress. I think, we know that, right? It's growing. It's taking over the web in many ways, but not just blogs anymore, but the content management system and now learning management system. People are really seeing that potential. So it's anywhere from a blogger to major organizations. I think there's one on there, and I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but it's like the biggest online university in Spain or something like that. And they're on WordPress, and they're using LearnDash. So, there's, I think a lot of educational institutions are obviously going that way. Businesses, for-profit organizations that maybe you want to sell a course and offer continuing education units, or just a blogger who wants to sell a course, on their expertise.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that they can use LearnDash too.
Hey, silly question. Do you use LearnDash to teach people how to use LearnDash?
We get that a lot. No, we don't. I think we work within the confines of our support site, which we have like one of those support themes, right? So like the articles and such. But there's a reason too why it would be difficult to do that. because one thing that I know about learning management or any learning program is that it's defined differently by everybody that's using it. So to be able to say, what one person wants to do with their learning program or how they want to offer a course is going to be different than somebody else. So to say, oh, go through this course and this is how exactly you should set up your site, that's kind of a tough task to accomplish. But, we do use it obviously on our demo site. And so, we do make that site available for people who just want to get started quickly. So that's, fits that niche.
I just had a brain wave or a brain fart, whichever you want to call it. But we should do something with LearnDash and the video user manuals videos, where we use the video user manuals videos and put them through LearnDash to teach people how to use WordPress, eh?
Hey, I like the way you think.
It's not bad, eh? We should
talk about
that one. Yeah, we should. We probably at some point should do, I'll tell you what, let's announce the competition and then we'll do our lightning round, our elevation round. So the competition is, you have very kindly offered to sponsor a full package of LearnDash, which is valued at $159, which is essentially LearnDash and the Pro Panel. Now tell us, what is the Pro Panel?
Yeah, Pro Panel, you don't need Pro Panel to use LearnDash, but it's going to give you some more reporting insight. If you want to pull up a course and see all the pretty bar graphs about how people's progress are in the course, filter by their progress, communicate via some direct email with the course members, things like that. So it's just you don't need it, but it's some added functionalities, some more insight into your course activity.
Cool. So that package is valued at $159. We're going to give away a copy of that. Well, you're going to give away a copy of that. Thank you very much. In order to enter the competition, what question would you like our listeners to answer?
Well, as I said, a lot of people are exposed to e-learning at some point. So it would be great to hear an e-learning course that you have taken and what you liked about it and what you didn't like about it.
Cool. All right. So leave your comments under the video and tell Justin the thing that the course that you've taken online, what you liked about it and what you didn't like about it. And I'll get Justin to swing by a couple of weeks after this episode goes live and award that prize. Sound good, man?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Before we do the elevation round, the one thing I want to say that I absolutely love about LearnDash is the ability to prevent people from moving through the course until they get a quiz right. So the way that we run our courses is we have a training video, we have a quiz underneath the video, and you have to get 80% of the quiz right before you can move on to the next lesson. Because I know what happens when people do e-courses, right? People are so hungry for the information and our attention spans are all so short because there's so much information on the internet that you get in, you try and watch the video as fast as you can and just soak it all up and think that this thing's going to change your life. Whereas actually forcing people to take the quiz, get 4 out of 5 questions right before they can move on to the next lesson has meant that the feedback that we get from our students has been awesome based on that one little feature alone because they actually are taking in the information.
Yeah, that was something that was important to me because when we would do training, a lot of these companies and organizations that they had to prove to their employer that they had understood what they had just learned. So me, that was kind of a must-have from day one.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, that's exactly right. People want to rifle through the information sometimes, and which is great. They're eager and want to learn. But this just kind of makes sure that they did learn it. So.
And I was a little bit nervous about using that feature because I thought, this might just jack a lot of people off, but it didn't. It worked. They actually really like being forced to answer the questions before they can move on because for them, it's like a sense of accomplishment. They feel like they've achieved 80% and they're allowed to move on.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be 80. Like you said, you could put it down to the 20% if you wanted.
Yeah. We got high standards here at WP Elevation, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, let's do our elevation round. For those that don't know, WP Elevation is a business accelerator program for WordPress consultants where we teach you how to run a consulting business as a WordPress consultant. So I'm going to ask Justin a series of quick questions, throw you back to your days of being a consultant, and give us some answers off the top of your head. What's the number one thing any freelancer or consultant needs to know?
How to say no.
Oh, yes. Now, I didn't prep you with the answers here, did I?
No, but is that what, yeah.
Excellent. What's the best thing you've ever done to find new customers?
The best thing I've ever done to find new customers. started to reach out. I mean, in the product space, right? This is kind of a long answer. In the product space, you're always working internally, but reaching out and telling people about what you're doing, family, friends, anybody.
Cool. No, pretty straightforward. But I think a lot of people kind of forget to tell people. We get so worked, kind of so cocooned in our own little bubble of working on our own projects that we forget to reach out and connect and expand our networks.
Yeah, and we think like, hey, we got the world at our fingertips on the computer. We forget about our immediate world that's right around us.
Yeah. Get out of the building, so to speak. How do you stop competing on price?
Compete on value.
There we go. Yeah. I love it. Any tips on writing better proposals?
I don't know if I'm an expert in that area, so I don't have any tips.
Okay, sweet, beautiful. What's your favorite tool for CRM?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
Sorry, what's your favorite tool or system for CRM?
Gmail. In fact, there's a lot of add-ons and such that I have that you can, bolster up the capabilities.
Yeah. Have you seen Streak?
I haven't.
Streak is a CRM that lives within Gmail, and it basically puts a pipeline in Gmail, and you can drag emails to different parts of the pipeline, and it kind of helps you keep your emails organized in kind of a visual sales pipeline. It's kind of cool. I like it.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah. What's the best way to keep a project and a client on track?
Talk a bit to them about what they're trying to achieve, not about, the issue at hand. So
yes.
I'll preface that with, sometimes people will have an issue or maybe they experience what they believe to be a bug in the software. And rather than focusing on just that item, asking them, okay, well, what is it that you're trying to achieve? How do you want the course experience to look like? And then go from there.
That's really good advice, because a lot of clients come to you with a problem halfway through a project, and the problem is with a very specific thing. But if you actually look at the bigger picture, you realize that you can just remove that completely from the project and put something else in that's going to help them get to where they want to be.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Any ideas for getting referrals from existing customers besides getting your website featured on LearnDash?
I think do right by your customers, and we've been fortunate in that area that people, I'll just see comments randomly on blog posts where people have kind of explained their positive experience with what we're doing with support and LearnDash. So if you can just be honest and true to what you're trying to do, and if you don't have an answer, be upfront about it. I think people just appreciate a little bit of humanity over than that. So
yeah, awesome. And final question in the elevation round: what is the number one thing you can do to differentiate yourself?
Focus on what you're good at, because everybody's good at something, right? So
yeah.
I say that a lot. I'll do some consulting for people that call in and want to know how they can market their courses. And, they try to copy some other model, but they really, I always say don't replicate, but emulate. You can take the good things from what they're doing, but put your own spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right, focusing on what you're good at, which kind of requires you to do a little bit of soul searching, doesn't it? And a little bit of kind of inward reflection. Yeah,
it does. And you should, find what you're good at, but then also have the confidence and know that you're good at it. And people will feel that, and it will resonate with others.
Awesome. Hey, what is the future for LearnDash? Where do you want LearnDash to be in 12 months' time?
12 months' time. Ooh, a lot can happen in a year. LearnDash, to me, LearnDash is we want LearnDash to be the place. Like, you think learning on WordPress, it's LearnDash, right? And of course, there's always going to be other options out there, but we get this industry. We're from this industry, the learning space, and we're really good at WordPress too. So we want to be seen as that go-to for all things learning, especially if we're offering online courses and planning to sell them, or even for free. That's where we want LearnDash to be that central hub. And we're making the steps for that. And we have some really exciting things for 2015. Just to throw that teaser out there, I mean, I get really pumped when I think about it, because there's some things in the works right now that are just going to drive the industry even further and hopefully force everybody to be better.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah.
And do you see, Matt Mullenweg, we've heard him say this a lot now, that WordPress, in fact, I think in the last, in the 2013 State of the Word, he said that WordPress is about democratizing development, not just publishing. And he's talking about WordPress being an application development framework. Where do you think WordPress is going? Like, what do you think the future is for WordPress? I know it's a big question.
Yeah.
And you have 23 seconds to answer it.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. I think we'll continue to see, at least in the near term, what we've been seeing, the expanding growth of its uses as website platforms. I think with marketplaces like ThemeForest, I think open the eyes of people that traditionally haven't thought of WordPress because of they're seeing these elaborate example sites on what they could maybe create with it. So I think in the near term you see that and gaining more of the internet market share. But then I think we're going to see it into other applications, right? I think this is a very minor piece in the whole story of WordPress, right? But learning management system. I mean, that wasn't anything even uttered until recently. So in the context of WordPress, and now it's very much so. So I think as our technology gets more advanced and all the different APIs we have and everything becomes more connected, we're going to see it's not just going to be WordPress in its silo and Salesforce.com in its silo, and we're going to see this connectivity across extremely popular applications.
That's exciting times ahead, isn't it? It's a great time to be an online entrepreneur, man. Speaking of which, what is the number one? If you had to give an entrepreneur one bit of advice about starting their own business, what would it be?
Market research, right? I think it's just something that it's not really sexy, right? The market research portion, but it's something that you see the successful companies do. We did 10 months of it. And we're reaping the rewards of doing that. A lot of 2012 was dedicated to market research.
Wow. And so you were obviously still consulting while you were doing that market research, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my second piece of advice is, don't quit the day job, right?
Yeah.
Use it to help fund the dream for as long as you can.
Yeah. And this is something that I think no one talks about a lot. Over a lot of people ask me, I need to take this job to build this website for $1,200 because I need the money. And I'm like, no, you don't. You need to do something else to earn that $1,200 so that you can then focus on building the kind of business you want to build. Otherwise, you're going to be on that treadmill for the rest of your life just chasing the next $1,200 website. And I think that's what a lot of people don't talk about is you've got to pay the bills and eat while you're working out what your business wants to be and what you want it to be.
You're spot on. That's great advice. I think that's something that I was in a position to do, and it was great. I could focus on the vision without having to worry about that next paycheck or where is that next paycheck coming from. And then, doing it not just like when we got to the point of launching and be like, okay, done, I'm doing this now. Doing both. Yeah. Doing both for a long time, 12 hours days of consulting and then another 8 hours of LearnDash, that's some pretty long days. But then finally taking that plunge when you feel like you're ready to go.
Yeah. Are you having fun, man?
I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Yeah.
It's awesome, isn't it? I've never met an entrepreneur who hates it.
I know, right? You kind of have to. You got to be a little bit of an addict for the stuff, but it's great. Jump in. The water's warm, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Hey, where can people reach out and say thank you for this interview?
Yeah, sure. Our Twitter handle is at learn-lms. You can also reach out if you want to reach out to me directly. I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's my corporate America route, history there. So just justinfairman.com will route you right to my LinkedIn if you wanted to send me a message there.
Sweet.
Otherwise, if you like e-learning and all things ed tech and et cetera, we blog about it quite often. So, subscribe to that blog and you'll get our articles. So.
Cool. This is the LearnDash blog?
Yes, learndash.com/blog.
Beautiful. I'm going to put everything in the show notes for this episode, which will be at wpelevation.com/Justin Ferriman, which is FERRIMAN, not ferryman, but ferryman.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with us on the podcast.
Yeah,
Finally,
absolutely.
it's taken us so long to get here, but I really appreciate you giving us some time. Finally, who would you like me to try and interview and why?
Can I give you two?
Sure, man.
And I'll
Absolutely.
explain,
Bring
I'll
it on.
explain why too. One, and I looked on your site and I didn't see that you interviewed this person, I think, so I hope it's not already on there, but Garth Coyle from Event Espresso.
No, I haven't, but I met Garth at Pressnomics 1 a couple of years ago, and he's a dude. Yes, totally. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, and the reason I say him is Event Espresso, to me, they are just dominating their niche, right? And with just solid marketing and a good product too, obviously. But, they're hard to find some information on. They don't do a ton of this stuff. So I would love to see an interview with him.
Yeah.
The other is Ross Johnson and you may not have heard of him, Ross Johnson from projectpanorama.com. And the reason I bring him up is he launched a plugin, a premium plugin, well, freemium in a way. And it's kind of the opposite of Garth and Event Espresso. He's done zero marketing, yet I know his sales are going up, and he is getting mentioned all over the place because the way he's an excellent designer, the way he designed it is so good, it's almost just catching wind because of how good it was developed. So as being a product guy, I think, there's kind of two worlds there. You got somebody that's created something and did a lot of marketing. Somebody's just developed something so great, it's just picking up steam. On the side, he does a lot of development work and design work. He's fabulous. So that's kind of his main thing. But
wow.
those two.
Thank you very much for the recommendations, man. I'm just looking at Project Panorama now, and it looks amazing. It just looks gorgeous.
Yeah. It's he's a great designer and developer. It's pretty fabulous.
All right. Well, Garth Coyle from Event Espresso and Ross Johnson from Project Panorama, I'm coming to get you both, courtesy of Justin Ferryman from LearnDash. So thank you for those recommendations, man. And thank you once again for spending some time with us on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And thank you for featuring us on your homepage, man, because it's made a huge difference to our business. I really, really do appreciate it.
Well, like I said, thank you so much for having me and having this conversation today. It's been fun, and hopefully I'll get to see you again in Chicago if you're going to go in 2015. We'll be there, so
awesome.
We'll meet up.
Cool, man. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Justin Ferryman from LearnDash as much as I enjoyed making it. You absolutely must check out LearnDash at learndash.com. Take it for a spin. It's awesome. Their support is fabulous. And it really is a great product for teaching anything online and selling courses or giving those courses away for free as a positioning exercise. Please subscribe to the podcast at wpelevation.com/subscribe, and we'll put an email in your inbox every Thursday morning and tell you who's on. Like next week, for example, is Syed Balki from WP Beginner. Woohoo! Can't wait for that one. It's going to be huge. I haven't shot that episode yet, so I actually don't know what's in store. But I'm sure that it will be good because Syed is a quality man. This episode, of course, is brought to you by Video User Manuals. It's the plugin that teaches your clients how to use WordPress so that you don't have to. You can find out more at wpelevation.com/VUM and take it for a spin for $1 for your first month. Visit the show notes for everything related to this episode with Justin Ferryman. All the links and everything we spoke about will be at wpelevation.com/Justin Ferryman, which is FERRIMAN. And Justin Ferryman is all one word, all lowercase, no spaces, no hyphens, no underscores, tildes, or other weird hieroglyphics. Leave your comment underneath this video and tell us if you've taken an e-course online, what was the one thing you liked about it or the one thing you didn't like about it, and Justin will swing by in a couple of weeks and award that prize of the full package of the LearnDash Learning Management System, valued at $159. So you could win that cool prize. I've just told you who next week's guest it is. It is Syed Balki from WP Beginner. I'm really looking forward to that. He's also partnered up with Thomas Griffin, and they also, of course, have Opt-in Monster. Those guys are in partnership together. So lots of good stuff coming out of their building. Looking forward to that episode. Get on over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review if you like us. Tell us some feedback. Tell us who you want to see on the podcast, and connect with us on Stitcher Radio at Stitcher.com, I think. Let me just double check that is Stitcher.com, because I'm not sure if it's Stitcher.net or Stitcher.com. Let me just double check. Here we go. I'll ask the librarian. Stitcher Radio is at Stitcher.com. There we go, Stitcher.com. Check us out at Stitcher.com. I hope you're enjoying the podcast as much as we're enjoying making it. Of course, my name is Troy Dean. This is the WP Elevation Podcast. If you're a WordPress consultant and you want to build a business as a WordPress consultant, you want to build a successful, profitable business to support your lifestyle, check us out at WPElevation.com and come and join in the fun. Until next week, go elevate.